Well, welcome to True 30. I'm Joey Dumont, your host, and we are excited to have you guys back. Sean, good to see you again. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
So before we get to our lead story for today, I want to follow up on our lead story from last week, which was the $1.776 billion slush fund that I thought had no chance of, or I actually thought that they were going to get it through. I thought Trump would wrangle it.
It got slushed.
It got slushed. So I stand corrected. I was wrong. I didn't think that would happen. Very impressed. Kathleen Williams was a judge who pushed back on this and wanted some updates by June 12th, which I don't think they figured they could do. And
do you know what? But do you know what got through?
What?
The IRS cannot back investigate me.
Thank you for mentioning that. That's exactly. I couldn't believe it, but that's still trying to be pushed through. And during the Senate hearing yesterday, a lot of the people in the hearing were pushing back on Todd Blanche, our acting AG, about this actual slush fund. And for our listeners and watchers, please understand, this is where Donald Trump cannot be audited from this date all the way back in this history. Obviously, there's a lot going on there. So we will watch this story continued, but the $1.776 billion, which was to pay off the hooligans for J6, is dead. Yeah, so kudos to everyone involved, Kathleen Williams and everyone else who decided that this was just nonsense and a bridge too far, even for our wonderful president, Mr. Trump. So our lead story for today is, I think, one of the biggest stories in politics, which is the Texas Senate race. And for those of you who haven't been following this, it's a pretty big deal.
Dude, that thing's brutal.
Already. And so we'll get to the general. There's going to be just, I think, a shitstorm of things going on. And it's already starting to happen. So on Team Blue, we have a young man named James Talarico, who is 38 years old, new, exciting, intelligent, articulate, charismatic, all of that.
Old school Texan.
8th generation, which we'll get into. The red corner, we have the current Attorney General, Ken Paxton, and we're going to dive into his illustrious past right now. So who is Ken Paxton? Well, let's start here. He's our current Attorney General of Texas. He spent the past decade under 3-count felony indictments for securities fraud. He accused of steering people into a company that was paying him without telling them. And he escaped all that through a 2024 deal with no trial, no admission of guilt. So kudos for you on that, Mr. Paxton.
So officially he's not guilty.
Exactly. In 2020, 8 of his own senior deputies, also conservatives that he picked, reported him to the FBI, accusing him of bending the power of his office to serve a wealthy developer named Nate Paul, which is a whole story in itself that we can get to at some point. It's gross and complex and awful. Next, the Texas House, controlled by his own party and included 60 fellow Republican lawmakers, impeached him in 2023 on charges of bribery and abuse of office. The Republican Senate dismissed those. Of course they did.
So what you're saying, if he does actually win the race, like, he's going to leave all that behind and there's going to be no corruption.
Yeah, no. And then he also had a Texas court later ruled that his office broke the Texas Whistleblower Act by retaliating against deputies who turned him in, finding his own lawyers did not contest, leaving Texas taxpayers with a $6.6 million bill. And last but not least, Paxton admitted to an extramarital affair with a former Texas Senate aide and put her on the payroll with his buddy. His own wife of 38 years, a sitting state senator, filed for divorce on biblical grounds, which is adultery. And compared to Trump, he may be a peach. But compared to us non-felons who decide not to cheat on our wives publicly, he's not looking as good. So this is going to be the contender for Team Red in the state of Texas for the next Senate race. So let's talk a little bit about that. The GOP is a little freaked out about this. Trump came in.
Well, wait a second. Who did he beat?
Well, he beat John Cornyn, and that's a great question. So Cornyn was a senator who'd been with Texas for 24 years, voted with Mr. Trump 97% of the time. He voted against him in the impeachment. Trump will never forgive him for that. So
that was the one strike.
Big sin. Yeah. And recently, even during this campaign, he took pictures of himself reading Art of the Deal to his grandkids and just completely just throwing himself down in fealty to Donald Trump with no shame, and it backfired. It didn't work. Now, that said, he got beat by 30 points. It was 63-36. I have rarely seen a crushing of that magnitude, specifically with a senator who's been in office
sitting senator.
6 terms. Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. So that says a lot. Donald Trump was obviously very impressed with this race. He decided to back Paxton way late because he kind of wanted to measure where the polls were going. And once he did that, he realized Paxton was indeed quite a bit ahead. And then once he got the endorsement of Trump, it went bonkers. And now we have Ken Paxton as the GOP representative in the general. So the reason that the RNC is a little worried about this is all the aforementioned, right? So I talked about his background. It's less than optimal. So it's one of those pieces where I was like, okay, what are we going to do there? The GOP says they spent about $130 million to date on this campaign. And they think they're going to have to spend another $150 million to have him win. So it's
going to be way more than that.
Gobs of money. Yeah, you're looking at hundreds of millions of dollars in a campaign. Now, there hasn't been a Democratic senator in the state of Texas since Lloyd Benson in 88, if memory serves. And so they're really worried about this riskier version of John Cornyn, because Cornyn was a staple in Texas politics. He was a good fundraiser. He seemed like a decent human being, considering who he's up against.
Over $400 million.
Yeah. It was tough. So, yeah, I think this was also Trump's way of testing the waters. And I was surprised in that sense because Paxton is pretty difficult to like. And it seems as though he believes that the MAGA brand is actually powerful enough to overcome even the background
There's
that
no
we just talked
Republican
about.
Party, dude. There's just a MAGA.
Yeah, it is MAGA. So that's it. So on the converse, right, this is a true vice versus virtue type election. This is all the Stoics, Epictetus, and Seneca. They would all be stoked to watch this because it'd be like, oh, who is this James Talarico kid? Well, 8th generation Texan, as we mentioned previous, former middle school teacher, of course, and a Presbyterian seminarian. So a man of God. And he loves barbecue. He has said some things that kind of wrangled the GOP. He said God was God was non-binary, and he leans really into some progressive stuff, specifically for Texans. So he's getting hammered on that. To James Talarico's shining, he actually came out and said that was a mistake. I didn't mean to say it. It was kind of a silly thing to say God was non-binary. So he definitely recovered quickly from that. He's 38. He's seems like to be a very nice young man, and he has a girlfriend, which we'll get into. And if you haven't heard of Talarico, it's probably because you haven't spent a lot of time watching television, and because he was everywhere. Early on in this election, his primary was...
And we're in California, and we heard about him.
Well, yeah, you and I obviously spent a little more time reading about this, but the idea there is that Talarico was up against a firebrand in the Democratic Party named Jasmine Crockett, and she's a member of Congress in Texas. She's an attorney. She's really smart. She has no problem going after the GOP. Lots and lots of sound bites with her on YouTube if you want to watch her. Impressive young woman. But she lost. And I don't know this to be true, but there's a lot of rumor around the campfire that Talarico was supposed to appear on the Stephen Colbert show. And,
oh, yeah. Well, no, you got to talk about it.
Well, so he was on the Colbert show, and then the FCC chair, Brandon Carr, came out and said, hey, you can't have him on the show because you're violating the equal time rule, which hasn't been enforced for
these
decades,
type of
if ever. And so Stephen Colbert did a huge thing where he came on and said, hey, my guest today was supposed to be James Talarico. He's running for the Senate in Texas, and I'm not allowed to have him on, so I can't show you a picture of him, but here it is, and I can't really tell you where he's going to be, but I'm interviewing him on YouTube. And so the interview went bonkers, and it brought him into the zeitgeist, not just in Texas, but nationally. And I think that helped him win.
So thank the FCC.
So, Mr. Carr, thank you, sir. We really appreciate your help. Because it was the whole Streisand effect in real time where say, please don't look at this. We don't want people to look at this. And everyone looked at it. So it didn't really work.
We're Americans. We're good at that.
We are. So as you can imagine, once this race was now put into the general, and now we get to look at these candidates, the GOP machine is in full fire mode. And so some of the pundits and news organizations are saying about Mr. Talarico, Fox News host Jesse Waters referred to the 38-year-old as Talarico, because that's really funny, and questions the existence of his girlfriend, said that maybe she lives in Canada, which is an old trope.
First, dude, you got to talk about the Talarico thing, because what did he do? Do you know what he did?
What do you mean?
When they called him Talarico.
Talarico?
Talarico.
No.
Printed a whole bunch of T-shirts, embraced it, like did the whole thing.
I didn't see that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Good for him.
Awesome.
Good for him. They also called him gay vegan that couldn't win in Texas. So that didn't work out real well. The on-air jabs came back pretty fast. Specifically, I don't know if you know this about Jesse Waters, but he was also involved in an extramarital affair recently. And so the people came back at him and said, hey, dude, not sure you want to be the guy talking about who doesn't have a girlfriend or not. You obviously have more than one. Probably not the best idea. So that was typical. The New York Post headline said, Dem Senate candidate James Talarico's mysterious girlfriend revealed, and she's a vegan. And they thought that was somehow cool or effective.
Is she actually a vegan?
I think she is. But then the other stories then, specific to they live in Canada. Everyone that Jesse has on, they sit and make fun of him. And, of course, he had Stephen Miller on. And for those of you who don't know who Stephen Miller is, he's like the Timu Hitler. He's this little Gollum-type human being.
Nosferatu in the corner,
He's just awful. And so he came out, and I have to read the quote because it's pretty funny. He said, this is Stephen Miller being interviewed on Fox Nation by Jesse Waters. It's very bold that Democrats would choose Texas to nominate their first transgender candidate who is transitioning into a female. When Talarico goes in for a blood test, blood doesn't come out. Instead, soy milk comes out.
The 8th generation Texan who likes barbecue, right?
Yeah. And then Stephen Miller followed up by saying, the man has less testosterone than Jasmine Crockett, the aforementioned primary. So
coming from Stephen Miller?
I know, and this is the thing that I don't understand about the alpha male discussion, specifically with Jesse Walters.
He's the most un-alpha human.
I know.
He can yell at people,
I know.
But someone takes a swing at him and he folds like a freaking lawn chair.
I know. And then they just sat and laughed and chortled as the alpha males do, I guess. So I don't really know what to say about that. And so after that, now famous quote, there was a young staffer at the DNC on the DNC's official platform that responded with the following. Shut up, you ugly fuck. And I quote, end quote. And it went bonkers. There was hundreds of thousands of likes and shares and memes. And
it's really the only response to something like that.
You know, I normally don't think it's a good idea to do this, but I just laughed out loud when I saw it.
It has to be short. Like the mistake the Democrats make, they make this whole long thing where they're insulting them. No,
it was good, and it was one of those things where
punch in the nuts.
They also, the DNC colleagues, baked her a cake, and on the cake, it said, "You rattled Timu Hitler, and you are hot." And for those. Go on. We'll put this in the show notes. She's a very attractive young lady. So
I'll put that in post.
And so, yeah. So you rattled Timu Hitler. And so then after that, right, the GOP machine started clutching their pearls collectively and how offensive all this is. And then right on cue, Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, chimes in and said the following. This is the same violent political rhetoric that is leading people to shoot up the White House Correspondents' Dinner. This is an anonymous account, not true, and run actually by a sad liberal woman, which is why Pew says 50% of liberal women have a mental health disorder. She is one of them. What a sad state for the pathetic Democrat Party, end quote. So, Paulina Magabout is the woman's name, the young DNC staffer. Her response about being a sad liberal woman who may have a mental disorder because she's alone, was for her to post a picture of her in her wedding dress because she's engaged to be married.
And she's hot.
And she's a beautiful young lady. Yeah, so it's just, you can't make this up. It's one of those things where I'm like, all right. So it's almost like envision Stephen Miller peeing into a fan, right? Because that's what he's doing, and that's what they continue to do. So here's some other hits of misanthropy from the GOP pundits. Greg Gutfeld, if you guys aren't aware who that is, he's the star on The Five. Again, he went into Does She Live in Canada? The old trope about a guy who doesn't have a girlfriend, usually a virgin. 16 Candles, those kind of movies back in the day. For those of you
Why is
not,
it always a Canadian?
because you can't find her. You can't prove that she doesn't exist, right? That's the idea.
The girlfriend in Canada.
The girlfriend that doesn't exist.
I got a girlfriend in Canada.
because he's a virgin or he's gay.
Or my boyfriend's in Canada. Got it.
And then he chortled off, which is typical of Greg Gutfeld, that he's beta and a soy boy. The RNC Joe Gruters called him, Talarico again, a creep, and that he wants to mutilate children and put boys in girls' locker rooms. And this is because James Talarico backs. Well, he is a advocate for trans people, and he is doing the best he can to legislate. What he will do the best he can to legislate protecting the trans community, which obviously is
but
not
just
being,
so they don't get shot.
Well, he's just, this is why these guys are fighting against him. The Newsmax host Rob Finnerty said James Talarico is insane, and I mean that literally, end quote. Ben Shapiro, of course, he had to chime in, said the slightly more gay Pete Buttigieg, which not sure why that is relevant.
Why are they calling him gay?
I don't know, dude. I think if you're trying to get to a certain macho vote in Central Texas, possibly gay is a pejorative, but he's from Austin and he's an 8th generation Texan again. And so you're like, this is not, I don't think that's going to work. And then Megyn Kelly said he's weird and unlikable and mocked him as looking like a little boy rather than a manly man. So I guess, I don't know where all this critique was with, Senator Lindsey Graham not being the most masculine of men. And obviously there, people think he's gay, but no one cares because who cares if you're gay? Just enjoy your life, enjoy who you love. So I don't know. I find it hilarious that all of these non-males, Stephen Miller and Jesse Walters and all these, think that they are the alphas and that they're somehow like Rambo in the GOP. And they want to push back on someone who's nice as Talarico.
They're alpha adjacent. They just stand next to the big burly Republican.
So I don't know. If you guys don't know much about Texas politics, let me inform you on this. I think I already said this, but there hasn't been a Democratic senator since 1988. And so Mr. Talarico's got his work cut out for him.
And Ann Richards, 2003, last time a governor.
Yeah, and she was fabulous too. Ann Richards was amazing. And so currently the polls, there was a different one. This was from yesterday. It was a poll from Texas Public Opinion Research. Has James Talarico at 47% and Mr. Paxton at 43%, which is in the margin of error. But it's encouraging for us Democrats because we're really rarely ever in contention. Yes, you are independent. So that is that story. And by the way, we will continue to follow this because I think this is just the beginning of a very long-winded, brutal campaign against someone like Mr. Talarico, who seems like a really nice young man in all areas, against the opposite.
Yeah,
the virtue versus the vice.
Before you move on,
of Paxton.
I just got to ask you something. Is this another Democratic false hope like Beto
O'Rourke?
Yeah. Beto O'Rourke.
Beto got it within 2 percentage points in 2018 when he was running for governor. Maybe I got that one wrong. He got within 2 points, I think maybe against Senator Cruz when he was running against the Senate. Yeah. Governor, he got beat up pretty badly by Abbott. Abbott has a pretty strong hold there. It's going to be tough. I don't know how much money the DNC is going to pour into this, but I hope that they can get this because if we can get a Senate seat in Texas,
it's not even the DNC or the RNC in this. It's all the friggin' PAC money that's going to be dumped.
Well, there's going to be hundreds of millions. You're right. There's going to be hundreds of millions. So another story that we thought was worth mentioning was our fearless leader's Truth Social tirade a couple days ago. It was May 30th. He posted well over 50 posts that flooded his profile and with memes and political attacks.
Dude, this is take the keyboard away from Grandpa.
Well, yeah, dude. It's one of those things where if Grandpa did any of this, you'd be interviewing memory care facilities pretty quickly with the family.
A home for mom.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the first one. I won't go through all of them because it's just too long of a list, but it is pretty funny. Trump attacks judge who said he couldn't put his name on the Kennedy Center. Which, if you guys haven't read about that,
he's pissed about that one.
Our judicial system, our rule of law actually worked. Donald Trump was forced to pull his name off. They're actually pulling the actual letters off. It is now, once again, a dedication to
It's
John
not
F.
a
Kennedy.
normal building. It was an act of Congress.
Exactly. So an hour later, he says he may perform and give a speech at the American 250 event instead of artists who canceled. Now, if you guys haven't read about this,
they
the
all
artists that
canceled
were already irrelevant. So you have Brett Michaels. Who? Exactly. If you're under 50, you have no idea who he is. He looks like, he's old like me. He still wears a bandana. He was the lead singer of Poison, very popular in the 80s during my heyday. And he backed out. I think Eminem I think that Vanilla Ice is the only one.
The only one who stayed.
I think he's the only one.
But they had like one part of CNC Music Factory.
CNC won. Yeah, I'm not sure which one of the
these
CNC.
These weren't in the B-list or C-list. This is like D-list.
Yeah, these were, again, just irrelevant folks. This was like, and they didn't want to show up because why would you, right? So, yeah, he wasn't happy about that. So then he attacks Obama, because of course he did, because Obama's really relevant to today's politics. Then he attacks Biden, the next tweet.
Oh, can't go along with that.
And attacked Biden again. And then he posts an AI photo of himself with George Washington, because who doesn't, riding horses in front of the White House, and a space shuttle and a race car in the background. Because, that's what I would do too, I guess, if I was in the Oval Office. AI photo of him attacking Rosie O'Donnell, attacks Obama and Biden over the reflecting pool, which he spent $13 million painting blue, which no longer reflects, if you guys don't know what that is. But that was also a big thing specific.
The whole problem with the reflecting pool was that it leaked.
Well,
they're not fixing
it was also
the leaks.
unbid, right? Just gave it to a buddy of his, friend of friend, who was a pool guy, I guess.
He did a pool guy.
I don't really know.
It's the pool guy from Mar-a-Lago.
It's bad. And then he posted photos of the UFC event cage he's building at the White House. And if you guys haven't seen this, we'll put that in the show notes as well. If you look at a pre-Donald Trump presidency and a present Donald Trump presidency, and you see this huge erected tower for the UFC fight, which, by the way, most of the top fighters refuse to fight in this because they don't want to fight outside, number one. They don't want to fight in this partisan event, number two. And they haven't had enough time to train because Donald Trump didn't do any negotiating. And Dana White, the president of this organization, is bonkers pissed. This is not going the way he wanted to. This is not going to be a good event. But I digress.
But it looks cool.
It looks cool. But if you look at the pre and current, it looks like a pure white trash took over the White House. It's got like stuff strewn all over the lawn, outside of like a parked car up on blocks and a couch in the actual lawn. It's about as bad as I've seen it because you can see the destruction of the Rose Garden in the East Wing.
It's not white trash. It is our economically challenged.
All right, better point. But then he gets into he defends Jackson Dart, who is the quarterback for the New York Giants, who came out and gushingly introduced Mr. Trump as one of his, I don't know what the word he used, but it was something about how proud he was to introduce. And so obviously that became a maelstrom within the liberal party of the Democrats and New Yorkers in general. Like, how dare you? This man is so he had to give Jackson Dart some love. He then posted an AI image of him with Tom Brady, speaking of quarterbacks, because, he loves Tom. Tom's not a huge fan of his, which he's already been on the public record with.
But standing with the GOAT looks a lot better than Jackson.
It does. And then he posts a garbage can and labeled it the Obama Presidential Library, which is rich on its own, unlike Mr. Trump.
Because he doesn't read.
Because he doesn't read. So it's kind of like...
Famously doesn't read.
Yeah. It's kind of like Michael Vick pointing fingers at puppy care, Like, no, I don't think you're the guy that should be talking about that, dude. So, okay. And then says America's back 3 times and then posts an AI image of him golfing, which is really funny if you think about it, because why does he have to post an AI image of him golfing? He golfs almost every weekend.
Yeah, because he doesn't look
like
the person when he golfs.
There you go. So now he posts something saying, I'm in excellent health. It's kind of like saying, well, this has never happened to me before, but same idea. And then he attacks the Pope because why not? You want to attack Pope Leo as much as you possibly can when you got 53 million Catholics in the United States of America. And then he posts a weird image of him staring down at Greenland, which I think you guys might have seen. I don't really know what that was supposed to mean. Attacked Biden 1, 2, 3, 5 more times. Post memes about Republicans who voted to release the Epstein files losing their primaries. So
take the phone away from Grandpa.
And he posts a mock-up of a Trump Peace Prize because that's the coveted one. You know, the Nobel Peace Prize. No one wants that. They all want either the FIFA Peace Prize or the Trump Peace Prize.
It's the FIFA one, the soccer
The most useless Peace Prize known to man with his name on it, but he's happy about it. Then he posts a photo of a B-2 bomber with the caption, Trump Energy 2026. I don't know what that was supposed to mean. And then, of course, he did this 3 or 4 times.
Is it powered by coal?
Post a photo of his face on Mount Rushmore, because he does believe he's up there with the rest of them. I think he wants to take down Teddy Roosevelt because he doesn't know who he is. Compares himself to George Washington. Oh, and then he says he wants to physically audit Fort Knox. Not sure why. Isn't the majority of the gold elsewhere?
It's not even there. The majority of the gold
part of
it's in New York.
Yeah, there. It's in New York. So then he posts an image of him cosplaying as a naval commander. Another image of his face on Mount Rushmore. I mean, you get the gist of it. And then he says he's going to cancel his America.
All the cosplay stuff isn't gay.
Yeah, no, that's right. Well, and also if you've seen this and put this in the show notes too, his gushing of Jackson Dart about he's a really good looking man. Is he a model? He's beautiful. And it was just like, and there's a gay pundit on YouTube. And I can't remember his name, but he just slays this. We'll put it in the show notes. It's hilarious. So yeah, this was, again, you need to take the phone away from Grandpa. It's not looking good. But I guess if we just want to understand for a moment how tragic that really is, it's so tragic on so many fronts for so many reasons.
All the stuff you just went over what time frame was that?
That was an 8-hour period. So 11 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night, something like that. And it was, 50 plus posts. And, I think if you'll understand like what people are focused on as the leader of the free world, this isn't good. This isn't what you want our elected leader to do with his day, but he's done it. And then speaking of things that just rub you wrong, that you can't believe is actually happening in real time, we need to talk about our Secretary of Defense.
Hegseth.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. This is
his little dance on the, the USS Boxer in Singapore. He wanted to do a training session on the deck.
With who?
With actual soldiers, right? So the highest trained, wonderful people that we have in the Navy. And he went on and they were doing, for those of you that are athletes in your history, these grapevine steps where you're actually crossing your feet over and going back and forth. It's a drill you do in basketball and soccer and football and every other drill. So they were doing this. This dance is what it is. It wasn't an actual grapevine step because I'm not sure if Pete's ever done this before, but it looks so ridiculous and so dainty that people were just losing it. The memes started immediately, the video sharing, the mockery. It was absolutely brilliant. And so I do want to say, I looked at some of the comments because I was enjoying this. The Schadenfreude may not be my highest calling, but I really enjoyed watching him be mocked. It said, here's some of them. Top Gun meets Peloton. Is he actually sashaying across the deck? The new enemy will never survive our lateral movement. Iran is unprepared for the grapevine step.
Dude, this is the guy they hold up.
I know. I know. The enemy has defeated by coordinated lunges. And my all-time favorite, this looks like a Navy commercial directed by Michael Scott, which I think sums it up so well. It sums it up so well. And I don't know if you've seen the pull-ups competition that our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, did with RFK Jr. That also we'll put in the show notes. It is an embarrassment of epic proportion because it was how many pull-ups can you do and how many push-ups can you do in a period of, let's say it was 10 minutes or whatever it was. And if you watch Pete doing these things that he thinks are pull-ups, they're not pull-ups.
Oh, these are those vibrate. The people,
Well,
the people in the gym just go.
It
like
was
the 20.
It's
so BS.
It was so bad. So that is all for us today, folks. We don't have much more to tell you, but it was an exciting romp down the Texas Senate race and Donald Trump's Truth Social tweets. And of course, for some humor at the end, let's mock our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, for being effeminate in a military drill. There's no way you can actually talk about the irony with enough joking or enough memes or enough of anything. So keep it up, guys. We appreciate it. And thanks for coming. We'll see you next week.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye, guys.